exciting for us. And I really appreciate you being here to hear all the things that we've been doing for the last year and that we have planned for the future of this year and the coming years. My name is Elsie Thurman. I'm the mayor of Horseshoe Valley. It's a great privilege for me to have that. And where'd he go? Oh, standing with me here is Jeff Costa, our wonderful city manager, who is responsible for most of the good things that you see going on. Jeff and I have put together a PowerPoint presentation where we can share with you the things that we've done, the things that are coming up, some of the challenges, some of the rewards that we've had. The staff, we have all of our directors are here, and they're scattered with these tables about the room. And we want you to have an opportunity after this meeting to go up and meet them, visit with them, ask your questions. This is where the work is done in Horseshoe Valley, and they're the ones that can answer your questions. So please feel free to stay here for a while, visit with them. They've all got some cool gifts for you to take home, and I hope you'll do that. Jeff and I are going to speak for about an hour. I think we can do that. And then we're gonna turn this over to Ruben Fetchner, who is chairman of the Land Use Advisory Planning Committee, Land Use Development Advisory Planning Committee, which they will be telling you what they're doing. This is a very important committee that is part of our comprehensive plan and our long-range plans on land use, both within the city and in the ETJ. We do want to answer your questions, but we're gonna, Jeff and I will be over here at this table after the meeting. We will answer any questions you have, but we want to give you time to go around and ask questions of the staff. So we will not be taking questions at this podium, but please, we will be happy to answer your questions. So with that, I'm going to turn this over to Jeff Costa.
Thank you, Mayor. Welcome, everybody. Glad to see a full room. This is incredible. It keeps growing every year, and we're very blessed to have y'all here. Glad that y'all are interested in what we're doing, because we're always interested in what y'all think. So first, I think we're going to start off and talk about kind of some of the status of where we are now, and some of the things that we've been doing over the last year, and kind of where we're going in the future, and just some updates on different information. So this is a pretty long time, because we do have the land use committee that's going to have a little bit of presentation, about 10 minutes in the middle of ours. So I'm going to talk somewhat fast. And so if there's something that I say that catches your attention that we need to talk about, like the mayor said, we'll be sitting over here, so y'all can come up and ask us later. And feel free anytime to call my office if you have any concerns or any issues out there. I'm here to work for you, but I work for my crew. I appreciate all of the department heads and all the people that work for me. They're the ones that make this community great. I'm just a go-between, I'm a figurehead, but it's between the council and all of these employees and all the work that they do that make this place a great place to live. So just wanted to get that out there right off the bat for you guys. So anyway, so I'm going to talk about some of the things that are going on right now. Well, I want to tell you and start off right off the bat to say how we're financially. We're great. We just did an audit, which we do every year, and we have an unqualified answer to that. Basically, it's the highest rating we can get on an audit, and we do that year after year. And that's always our goal. We're responsible for your money. We make sure that it's spent on the things that are good for our community. The second thing is our AA+ rating, credit rating. This is the Standards and Poor's. Every time we go out for bonds for big projects, this allows us to get some of the lowest interest rate out there. Sometimes we're even lower getting that way than we are for the state programs and other ways, low interest rates. So we plan on continuing to keep it that way. It's important for us that we keep that cost down so we can keep the low and steady tax rate. That is another thing that we've been able to keep our tax rate the same or drop it down a little bit in the last couple of years. All doing this while we're facing unprecedented times with inflation and growth that puts a stress on our operations. So a lot I put on the department heads who really take their budget seriously and ensure that we come out at the end of the year kind of where we started and what we closed. The other thing is competitive utility rates. We do every year when we look at our utility rates, we kind of benchmark ourselves against other communities around us and those of our size. And for water, if we looked at it, we're about 20% of where the average is below what the average is. So we're competitive on our utility rates and the water rates. Our sewer rates a little bit more in the middle of the pack of that, but that's because we have a low pressure sewer system and we maintain those grinder pumps. We have close to 4,000 grinder pumps out there that are mechanical pieces of equipment that we have to maintain, and most normal sewers are gravity. So we do have a component that is more expensive, but we still stay within the range where we should be on what we charge for our utility service. So one of the other things that we do to ensure that we keep that cost down is we really do a lot of master planning. And you'll hear a little bit more about that. This is both physical and financial that we work on all year long, and that's part of the council's. When we start our budget meeting, we start in January, and we just completed it yesterday. So it takes a long time to go through the process. There's a lot of discussion. I think that the first one that we have in January is usually almost an 8-hour meeting, straight solid conversation between the department heads and the council. So we take it very serious on the financial, not only the financial side of things, but also the way that we provide our service. So one of the things that a couple of years ago we were having some issues with was our dependability of our water system in the West as far as the pressure is. Capacity-wise, we have plenty of capacity, but during the irrigation times, we were having some problems out there. I'll give it to the utilities department. They really focused on some solutions on that. And within 3 months after we started having problems and them jumping on it, we were able to find ways to mitigate that. And we haven't had any real issues since then, although we continue to try to increase our dependability with our system. One of the things that we're doing this year, it should start in November, is we're building a cross-town transmission project. We have more capacity in the central plant than we do in the west plant, and so we're making sure that we can get enough of that additional capacity in the central plant over to the west side of the city, so we can ensure we have plenty of capacity where a lot of our growth is going. The second thing we're doing is on the west water plant, we're doubling the capacity. We started the engineering this year on it. We'll get through the engineer probably in the spring of next year. Then there's a system time that we have to go through TCQ to have them review the plan and do that part of approving the plan, and then we'll go into construction probably in 27 is what I expect that we'll probably go with that expanded plan. In the meantime, the expanded cross-town transmission is going to give us some more capacity in that facility. One other thing we're doing is we're looking at alternate sources of water. And that's everything from looking at conservation on how some of the new houses are being built, to see if there's something within the house building that we can try to utilize and reduce the use of water, to also seeking groundwater sources that may be available as relatively close. And then also reuse the water. Every bit of our wastewater that we produce in our city goes on the golf courses, except sometimes in the winter we may have about 2% that goes on a ranch, just so we can ensure our pond levels don't go above our required levels. So we're always looking for improvements in our water system, and I applaud Rick Williams, who was our utility director, who got to be my assistant city manager, and applaud him for a lot of the work that he's done to do that. So another big issue that we recognize, I've been here since 1998, and so y'all know we live in a flash flood out, and that means that we get hard rains, and that impacts the drainage that we have around everybody's house. We started a couple of years ago looking at just the development of when houses are being built, what do we look at that can help offset flows that go off of that property onto your neighbor's property and just affect negatively the whole drainage area. And so we created a drainage criteria manual last year. We continue to tweak that with the builders, and we went with the builders to kind of work and show them why we're doing that. And then last year, we started a drainage study across the city on every one of our basins within the city. That drainage will be planned or study will be completed in December of 24. And immediately after that, we're going to start working on the drainage plan within the city to help identify capital improvement plans, and then look at areas where we may need to elevate house slabs to make sure that they are out of the flood zone. So many more things. We're going to take that up and start in January. It takes about a year to kind of get all this done, get the ordinances completed, and figure out how we're going to, where we're going to set priorities. So something that's ongoing. Another thing that we've been doing for probably about 5 years, really hard and heavy, is our city asset management. This started in the utility, started in the distribution, and replaced water lines, pushed through water plants now. We're now working on adding our roads and infrastructure, other infrastructure into the asset management system. And we're using this master plan as well. A lot of this has to include data collection and analysis. So we can look at, right now, we're properties a little over 50 years old. That means the water lines, the roads, signage, a lot of things. And so we're really looking at this time to really talk about, these assets and what we need to do to keep them up. And so this asset management system really helps us identify if we have to replace something or if we can rehabilitate it and what that cost is, and so we can kind of plan for our future. And we're looking at things not in 5 years, but sometimes 10, 15 years, because we know utilities that far out that we can kind of start putting them on the radar if they need to be funded. So the other thing that we've been working on, and I believe we have a map, I think it's at Public Works Department, I think they have a map of where our fiber is run across the city. It also has some information on where the internet towers that we constructed last year are. There are 2 companies that are on those towers currently. Those are 2 local companies. Well, they're local, BGI and the other one is Zcon. Both have offices in Marble Falls. The city doesn't really do internet, so you need to contact them directly. When I said that we were talking about fiber across the city, we started a project last year with Rio Broadband to expand internet fiber across the city. We did all of this, the towers, and where we're going across the city, and running a trunk line to all the city locations. And all that trunk line will be spread throughout the city with fiber in different areas. And so we use American Recovery Plan money, so none of this costs you as a taxpayer any dollars, but it is coming along fine now. So if you have internet issues, Zcon and BGI are up and running now. As they lay the fiber path, if you're on the path itself, you can see it on that map, they'll have kind of the basic location where it's going. If it's going to be across in front of your house, I would contact them immediately. I think we may have a Rio representative. He's came in to talk if you need to talk about fiber, he's your guy to talk to about that. So we're using your resources to try to improve our internet, and we've come a long way in 2 years. But I will say, we've been working on this for about 8 years or so. Of course, Frank Kozia, he's in the back, he's our council member, has been steady after it to have this project happen. So I really applaud his efforts because he's really pushed this hard, and his knowledge has really put us a long ways. The other thing we're looking at is we're expanding our street program to the inclusion of arterial streets. Plus, we have a policy where if there's 15 houses per mile, we'll redo the street so it's to a higher standard. And so when we started looking at Tim Foran, who was the public works director, and I started looking at this and said, we really need to expand this. And so we started looking at it, we're talking to council this year. And this year, I was the first we're going to start looking at some of those areas that are heritage streets that may not meet that growth limit, but they certainly are being traveled a lot. And so we're kind of expanding our capacity to increase some of those roads to be revised into better, higher standards. Citizen input and engagement. We have 5 active committees right now. And these folks are volunteers. One that the newest one, well, there's two that we started probably in the last 6 months. One is a land use and development advisory committee, and they're going to talk to y'all in a couple of minutes and talk about the survey that we have out there, because we're really working on the land use as part of a bigger plan, which is going to be our city comprehensive plan. It'll be the first time we have a city comprehensive plan, and I'll talk a little bit about that later. But all of these committees are from volunteers out of our community. These folks have extraordinary experience, and they're coming and spending their time with us and helping us make our city better. And that's an incredible thing to have this many good, talented people come in and work with us. And that includes, like I said, the land use plan, the transportation plan, which has been going for about a year, almost 2 years now. And they're going to present our first transportation plan, which really has a lot of recommendations, including what we've been talking about with work stamp. I'll have some more information on that too. And in our intersections that we have within the city that we know that we have some problems with, that we're trying to identify and make plans for improvements. Historical committee, I have to say, Jim Jordan, if y'all know Jim Jordan, he is our city historian. Man's full of knowledge about not just our city, but the whole area around here. And we have a link on a page on our website that's dedicated to that. And I applaud him being a five generation Texan. It's great to share history with our community about what happened here, not only when Bushy Bay was built up to now, but also here when the Fuchs used to live here, and even before that, when this land was first owned by the Indians and the lizards. So, lots of lizards. Another thing we're working on at this point, and I think if you've been down by City Hall in Mark Park, you notice that we tore the pavilion down earlier this week, and we're working on, there's a pad out there we're replacing with new bathrooms that will be kind of set to where they're shared with the pickleball courts and the park there itself. And then we're going to replace, we got to do a little more concrete work, and then we're going to replace the pavilion with a little bit higher pavilion with some fans and some lights in it. I'm trying to just get some better use out of that. And it was time, if you ever went in the back, you could tell they needed to be replaced. So we're right in the middle of that, and I would imagine the next month we're going to be pretty much have that all back up and running again. We did add some screening and some shade for the pickleball courts because we were seeing that people were sweating out there quite a bit too much. So we added that to there as well. Another thing, we're developing trails that will be walking trails at our new city center. And the mayor will talk a little about the city center in a minute, but we started with 3.5 acres, and now we have 10 acres that are contiguous to that property. Now's the time to get that property and hold it for our future. But even in the meantime, on the 6 acres that we're working with SCRA now, which is right next to it, we're working with them to use part of that for parking and part of that for some water quality control stuff. But the rest of it, we're going to put winding trails, and we're going to put native gardens in that area. We have a staff member, Sandra Nash, who is a landscape architect that is doing all of this for grants. That's a great employee that does stuff like that. So we have some great employees, and so we're working on that. Another thing, we'll let the mayor talk about City Center.
So, thank you, Jim. So, you want to still use the? Okay. Yeah, I told Jeff I wanted to talk about the building projects because I'm very, very excited about this. We've been working on the city center. We're calling it City Center, not City Hall, because it's not just City Hall. It's a center for all of us. This is the rendering of what this building's going to look like. It's over at the lot across from the construction entrance to Escondido. And we are going to be breaking ground this week or next. We've got a little bit of an issue with getting some approvals that we needed from the LCRA, but we've just about got all that nailed down, and we've got this building planned. It's gonna be lovely. It's not gonna be fancy. You're gonna be proud of it. It's gonna be functional. If you happen to have noticed, between the city hall and the fire station, we have a new structure, which is a temporary building. And we honestly, when we added the assistant city manager position, we just didn't have another closet to put a person in, and that's the truth. So we put a temporary building up there that we'll have to use until this structure is completed. And as Jeff was saying, there's gonna be a lot of nice things for all of us. There's gonna be a walking trail. I love the trail up at Horseshoe Creek, but it's really kind of hard to walk on for some people. This is gonna be a nice flat trail that we can all stroll along. There's gonna be shade along the way, so I think you'll all be very proud of this place. We hope to have some community gatherings there, so you can join me in watching the progress of this building as it goes up. We have another project. Oh, I want to tell you about this. These are just pictures of desks, right? No, these are pictures of the desks that we're going to be getting similar to this. They're custom-made desks, and they're made by the Texas Corrections Department. This program is available to cities and counties. We'll get these desks for about half the price that we would pay for them in any other market. And it's a wonderful program where the people who are incarcerated learn a trade. They have a very low recidivism rate when they come out of this program. So it's a wonderful program, and I'm just really proud that our city is going to be part of that, and that we're going to have some beautiful furniture in these offices as a result of that. We're buying a lot of furniture from them. They just make amazing things. It's unbelievable. And it's about half the cost of what it would cost us otherwise. And then the other building project that we're doing is an improvement to the West Fire Station. So the West Fire Station structure that is there now is going to remain. We were planning on remodeling it, but when the architect started looking at it, they realized that this building was old, and in order to bring it up to code, it was just going to take a lot more money than we were willing to spend. So we're building an annex sort of behind and to the right of it, and that's what this will look like. This will house the firefighters who live there, and it will house one engine, and this is going to be, we'll also have a decontamination room, which we don't have at either of our firehouses now, so this is something that we've needed. And the long-range plan on this is that at the end of that building on the left, phase 2, is that we'll demolish the current structure, and we'll enlarge that structure to accommodate all the fire trucks that are there. But this is something that also will be starting. We think it'll be in about October. We expect both buildings to be done by the end of 2025. So you'll be seeing that progress, and I think it's going to be wonderful for everybody. So thank you very much, and back to Jeff. Oh, I get to talk about this too. So as Jeff mentioned, the volunteers. But what we didn't mention is that we have a lot of volunteers that don't always get recognized. And I've seen some of these people. I don't know who else here, but the telecare is a wonderful program. If you live by yourself, we have a program where you just make a phone call every day. And if you don't make that phone call, then somebody will call you. And if you don't answer, somebody will come and check on you. It's free, it's available to everyone. And if you are a telecare volunteer, would you stand up? Linda M says, I know I saw you. Yeah, there she is. There's not a whole lot of them, but this is important. This is Citizens Emergency Response Team. This is a group of people, and if you are a CERT member, would you stand up? This is a program where we are just certifying them. It's a program that the fire chief supervises. And this is something, they're not emergency response professionals, but they're people who can help direct traffic and come in and help the first responders if we really ever need more feet on the ground. So this is a wonderful way for people to volunteer to help our community in times of need. And of course, we have these ongoing committees. Planning and Zoning Commission, if you're here, stand up. These guys meet once a month. Oh, come on, I know some of you are here. There's one or two. They meet once a month and they handle all the requests for rezoning, and they study hard. They do a lot of work. The council relies very heavily on their recommendations. The Board of Adjustments, this is also a very important committee. They don't meet often, but when they meet, it's an important meeting because they're the ones that, if you want any kind of a variance, you have to go to them. Their judgment is final. It does not come to the city council for appeal. If you want to appeal the opinion of the Board of Adjustments, it goes to the courts. The Transportation Committee, oh my gosh, these guys have been working like crazy for the last year and a half, and they have a booth set up somewhere. Where's the Transportation Committee? Do we have a booth for them? Kelly, you don't? Okay. Well, we have some more slides that Jeff's going to get to on the Transportation Committee. We've got some great plans because we've got a problem with transportation in this community, and we know it. We know that 2147 is a problem, and we're working hard to address it. I'll talk a little bit later about my involvement in the greater regional community and also on this issue. And Jeff already mentioned the LUDAC Committee and the Historical Preservation Committee. I just want to say thank you to all of these volunteers. It's a lot of time. We all moved here to volunteer. I mean, to enjoy and retire. 4 of us moved here to volunteer. I don't know what's the matter. But anyway, this is an important support for us, and we really appreciate it. So thank you.
So there's some other volunteers that you need to know about. This is your city council. And like I said earlier, you know, we have meetings, we have more meetings now than I think we ever have, which is, I think it's approaching around 86 that we have, which is getting close to 2 months. But there's a lot of meetings that we have, and they spend a ton of their volunteer time to keep up and read our package, which sometimes can be, you know, 2 inches thick, to keep up with the business of this city. And they like other volunteers, they get paid like this. Yeah, but they are very much appreciated. If you see them, council members, you hold your hands up. Okay, so I'm gonna switch to some emerging challenges and things that we've been working on. Building conduct and inspections. We have some great builders here. Let me start that. We have some exceptionally good builders with good quality and work with us ideally to resolve things. But we had a boom, and we had a lot of builders that came in that were not really up to par with what our local builders are. So we took it as an issue to protect our citizens and to seek for improved accountability for non-compliant builders and contractors. So one of the things that we did this year is we added a building official position. And this is so we can get the speed of operation, of inspections, the speed of problems. We can have somebody go out there. And David, is David here? Oh, he's not here. Okay, so he's out working, probably a problem. But if you know David, he used to be was our water conservation officer. And this is his background, this is building maintenance or building official experience. So it was a perfect fit for us to put him into this position. So we continue to work with our builders. We have a new committee. It's called a BRAC committee, which is a building regulatory compliance committee. Basically, we're looking at codes. We're going through things that our city, the processes with our city that we do with building. And we'll work with them to make sure that we have a smooth transition between the builders and the city. But also we're looking at ways that we can make sure that the building conduct of those that we know that are bad apples in our building community to get weeded out. We are here to protect you as the citizens. And we thank all of those builders that are involved in this that to help us get there. So another thing is for growth pressures. We have, the growth that we had the last 3 years, 4 years has been pretty substantial for us. And I'm just going to go down to a chart here. But the good news is if you look at the chart here, we're at 91 this year. So look, we went all the way up to 223 a couple of years ago, and those are slowing down to 90, which is much more kind of the reasonable range of being able to kind of see growth. I've been here, 26 years, and we go through cycles like this every once in a while. So we'll go through them, and never have we seen in the 200 number, but it was pretty big, and it was impacting us. But like I said, I give a lot of credit to the directors who their budgets, stayed within the range where they needed to be, and they were really looking at for the long term. And we were able to keep our budgets within in the budget. So just to kind of tell you that, that's still an issue, but we have a pretty good handle on it going forward. Other is transportation. The mayor touched on it. We have a transportation committee. As soon as we hit the ground with that committee a year and a half ago, some of the first things we looked at was the Birchdam Road. How's that going to affect our community, and what do we need to do to kind of consider what we need to be doing as our community? So first, after that, we started talking to TxDOT. We've been working with TxDOT over there in the county, and what our options were is really we think the road's going to happen. There's pros and cons to that, but the road is going to happen. We think it'll start in next year. It'll take a couple years to build. But we know that 2147 is going to be an issue because there's no way out of there other than the same road it is. So we're pushing on TxDOT. Next year, they're going to be looking at a regional plan for us around our area to try to see if we can come up with some alternatives and get them to support more of what's happening here. The other thing is that, we are looking for alternate routes that take the traffic off of 2147 to the east and take it and go to 71. We continue to work on that, and then our regional traffic, we work with all our partners around here, Water Falls, and everybody else, to try to keep abreast of what's going on and try for the same purpose, try to make our mobility clear. One of the things on that we're working on in that committee is roundabouts. And y'all saw a little bit of this. This is, there's two places where we kind of identified that might be good for our community. One is Horseshoe Bay West Boulevard and Horseshoe Bay Boulevard. And the reason we started looking at this is we have some very competent people. Mark Beauchamp standing there. Stand up for a second, Mark. Mark is a retired engineer, and one of the things he had worked on is roundabouts. And so we started asking about roundabouts. What is the deal with roundabouts? One of the best things about roundabouts is it reduces crashes and injuries by like 80%. Because all your crashes, instead of being a crossway with a light, they're side. And so we started really looking hard at this, and unbeknownst to us, that TxDOT had opened up a new division that was to look at roundabouts. And so we immediately jumped on that and asked them to come down and visit with us. So we're in the process, and you see there's all kinds of notes on this as this is now. That's because we're still in the process of working with them to try to figure out how that's going to fit in our community when it's time to put that in there. The other thing is intersection improvement. We're looking at fault line and Famous Boulevard or realignment. We're working with the resort on moving some of the rocks that are kind of the pathway. Some other intersections off that road we're looking at as well. So we're looking at these because we know that these are problems. We've heard that from the community, so we're taking action. Just remember, it takes a while to kind of get this stuff down in a plan, and then it takes a while to kind of gather those projects up, get cost on those, and get those started. So we are working truly to make our traffic safety in our community. Other thing that we're looking at is aging infrastructure. I said earlier that Proper's 50 plus years now. West is 40 plus years now. So we're getting to that point where we really have to look at our assets, and that includes everything from fire hydrants to water mains in the ground to the roads that we're improving to signage, you name it. We're looking at drainage. And so these are things as we grow as a city that we have to pay attention to, and that's why one of the things we're doing a comprehensive plan is really kind of to set out a plan for 15 to 20 years where we start looking at these things to make sure that we're addressing them. And then when council and new people come into the community, they have a plan to look at it as well. So more of that coming later as we kind of start developing that plan. One of the things that we tried really hard to do in the last couple of years, this came out of our Long Range Plan Committee, is to improve our communications, information that we send out, and connectivity with our community. So we started with a city corner once a week. Now we recently, Dan Heron is our communication. Where are you at, Dan? Dan in the back, he's now got all of our messages that was just on Civic Plus, also going out to Facebook and Nextdoor. So we're continuing to expand our horizons on how we can impact everybody there. We are just now rolling out a city app. So this is the app that goes on your phone or goes on your computers. Samantha, where are you at, Samantha? She's over there. Okay, she's hiding in the corner over there. Well, she's out there, and she will help you with the city app to load it on your phone. And basically what it does, it gets you connected to the city's website, but it also gives you the ability to work to if there's a pothole or if there's a water leak or any type of problem, you can use their cell phone to put in a request that goes directly into our asset management system, so it can respond to that. So kudos to them for putting that together. It's taken about 2 years to kind of get it to where we think it's right, and now we're going to roll it out. So if you're interested in that, we'll have a booth set up over there with her to where you can set up with Civic Plus, Water Smart, which is another app that if you don't know about Water Smart, please ask her about that, because everybody knows how important water is. And this gives you a speedometer, basically show you where you are with your water usage. A great app. The other thing is ETJ in our development within the ETJ. Even though we've had a reduction in our building permits, we still have a lot of inquiries of what's outside of our city limits within our ETJ. And our ETJ is the area outside of the city, 1 mile, that the city has the ability to have some control over what happens within that area. Recently, legislation from the legislator has tried to roll that control back from us, which is not good for us, because we control, but we don't want to see what works in our community and not something that doesn't work. So, one of the things, that's my next slide here, is legislation. And we're working really hard. Our legislative director, Carrie is working tremendously hard on your behalf and with the council to make sure that they understand what the impacts of what's going on in the legislature as it happens. And we're proactive. This year, we actually sent TML, which is our group that we interact with on legislation that affects the city. We have been working closely with them to put out resolutions to send them so they can pursue those things that we asked to do with our legislators. So the last thing that I have here is the negative effect of that legislation and the Hill Country Leadership Coalition. You want to say anything about that?
Yes, and I encourage you to go over and pick up one of Carrie's handouts, because she's listed the things that we told the legislature that we would like for them to be looking at on our behalf. And I'm very proud to say that when we shared this with this group that I'm going to tell you about, the Hill Country Leadership Coalition, a lot of them took our document and made their own declarations that were just the same. So I think that shows that we've done a lot of good homework. Hill Country Leadership Coalition is something that was started several years ago. It sort of disbanded during COVID. And this year we have revamped it. We had the first meeting of this group here in the spring, and we're now meeting quarterly. We're going to meet in September up in Vernon, and we're going to have Pete Flores come. This is a group that it's the mayors of all of our neighboring cities: Vernon, Marble Falls, Llano, Johnson City, Double Horn, all of the mayor, as well as the judges, both from both Vernon and Llano County. I saw Peter Jones here, our county commissioner here. These people are taking this seriously, and we realize that we need to be a combined voice in going to the legislature. Just one little city is not going to get their attention, but the problems that we're having with what the legislature is doing is really pervasive for all the cities. They're passing laws that fit Houston and fit Austin, but they don't fit us and they don't fit Vernon. And we need them to understand that and carve out places for our communities that fit what we're wanting to do. So I'm very, very happy to be part of that group. And we're going to be moving forward on your behalf. This is a legislative year, so we're going to be talking to the legislators, and hopefully we'll be able to get their attention and get some things done that are going to be beneficial for us. So I'm happy about that initiative.
let y'all know, the last 2 years, we've kind of stopped doing deer trafficking. The reason was because we were not getting the counts. We have a key performance indicator, which is basically the count of deer that get hit in 2147, plus the population count. And when it drops below a certain level, we save the money and don't do it because the population, we just, not make it up. Well, this year, the numbers are back up, the hits are starting to come back up. We've noticed a lot of deer, so we're going to go back into our herd management. But we revamped it for this year. So we took that time the last 2 years off to really kind of figure out what is a better way to do this, because we heard complaints, out and seeing what's going on about dropping the nets, the noise, and different things like that. So we started looking at other communities where we're facing the same thing. So we started looking at a pen system. And now we have 2 pens like this. We're going to set this one up at in Mark Park, kind of in an area out there, so everybody can look at it. Basically, the doors are open on the one side, and when they can those. And so instead of like a net which falls on the animals, the pins are down, and you have to go out and wrestle down. They fall in this pin, and then we just back this trailer up to this park, and they can cull it and out and let them go. Some of the babies and stuff, when they go, and some of the bigger one deer that they're bigger bucks that are ones that are beautiful, we like to leave those. So, but we do manage. We're going to go back to manage these again. Animal control officers are going to do this now versus the contractor that we're using before. Did a good job, but his costs kept rising, and that we looked at that. And I think Chief Graham was and the animal control officers really came into saying they could come up with a different plan than we did. So this will reduce the stress on the animals. It'll also reduce the noise that goes on the neighborhoods and the site with that happening. Long-term savings, this is definitely going to be much cheaper in the long term. And again, remember that we donate all of this protein that comes from the deer to the local food bank. So it's going for a good cause. So just to let you know, that's what's still going on. It'll start up in November of this year. So with that, the only other thing I want to kind of touch on real quick is, we've been doing the long range plan for every 5 years. This was the time to come up with that, and Elsie and myself started looking at this as we kind of decided it's time for us to do a plan and have our own written plan, which is most cities have. And so we've taken that and kind of formulated that into a comprehensive plan. And basically, it's taken a lot of the tenets that were in the long-range plan, and we're going to develop our first plan going forward. And this looks at, first thing that we do is have to look at our future land use plan, which the group is fixing to talk is doing that. And then another thing is, we have to get stakeholders, which I appreciate y'all being here, was we have those police the same. Come and visit with us and tell us what you feel like on there, so we can kind of get that right. Clarify is a key thing for us, and also look at places like out on 71 where we can get some more commercial out there, the right commercial, not big box stores and things like that, but the right commercial that can actually add sales tax value to us, which can help us keep our ad valorem tax down. So we're working on that plan to do that, and then helps us keep a reasonable tax rate while still ensuring quality of services. And then we bind that to our capital projects, and we work with our regional partners to connect all that together. So with that, I'm going to pass it to Ruben Fechner, who is our committee chairman for the LUNAC committee.
I'm a little nervous that it's late afternoon and it's dark in here. But, I didn't bring any good jokes, so I'm a little bit at risk. But thank you all for being here. My name is Ruben Fechner. We have many members seated here, and Mark at our table. Our table is the most important, the most interesting. And we want to start and finish by coming over and sitting at our table. Our job really is to ask you what you want the future horseshoe bank to be. We're not here to tell you what that is, we're here to engage you in that. And so to that end, the city established in March this committee of citizens primarily to get your feedback on what you want the future to look like. I think we'd all admit we live in a wonderful and unique community, and we'd all love to keep it that way. If you do not respond to our survey, we failed and we'll get fired. We won't get any more of those thank you bucks with $0. So we really want you to encourage all your friends and neighbors to come out and take the survey. Any of the committee members, the mugshots there on the right. Gil is here, Mark is here. Brooks and Mike, I saw Mike earlier at another meeting. They were on previous long-range planning committee. So they've been very helpful helping us with their council. We've been working with the mayor and Jeff and his staff. Poor Jeff gets to meet with us almost weekly. We mentioned extraterritorial jurisdictions, another one of those things like LUDAC that rolls right off your tongue. So I'm going to call it ETJ from now on. It's actually the result of legislation that occurred in 1987 that gave, as Jeff and the mayor had mentioned, cities a great power to the point where you could even involuntarily annex people back in that day. However, if you look at you're right on this chart, it's actually been diluted over time. For the city of Horseshoe Bay, 1 mile within our city limits is what's called the ETJ. So all that property outside of 71 to 2183 to our west is 1 mile is in our ETJ. I'll show you a map of what that looks like, and that's important because our survey is going to reference what you think it should be considered in the ETJs, and I'll describe that in just a moment. Another thing that's not reflected here is you can no longer involuntarily annex people in the ETJ. So that's been removed, and just this last year, you could actually opt out and choose not to be in the jurisdiction. So why are we doing this now? One, I just mentioned, you can see that the legislation is moving in a direction that you heard the mayor talking about, where the city is trying to take action to deal with, but it is moving in a direction that lessens our ability to influence our future as it relates to the areas around the city limits. As Jeff mentioned, they're working on a comprehensive plan, and kudos to us that we live in a city where people are willing to look 15 years down the road and understand what do we need as it relates to land use. The land use, housing, transportation has been mentioned, utilities, financially, and economic development. So we are obviously asked by the city to gather your desires for the future land use so we can provide them that they can understand what are the impacts to other areas in their plan. So that way we have a really good view. This is a little bit of a busy map. We have a big one over there, but we wanted to share it with you because it's got some really important points. It's hard to see this kind of red hash line is the city. These pink and blue areas are the ETJ areas. This is 71. Just to give you a little bit of point of reference. The key points we want to call out here is you're driving down 71, it may look like everything's green pasture and everything is just fine. These areas that are in red are areas that are either for sale or people have discussed the potential for selling. So there's actually a potential for that land to be developed in a certain way. These tan colors are actually areas that are under development in the process of being developed. So this is an important thing for the city to get your feedback on what's being developed and what potentially could be developed in the future. So the timing is really, really important. This is, as was mentioned, a broader view. You can see Marble Falls. You know, find it. Round Mountain. Mayor mentioned we have other communities. These show you where the other ETJs actually extend. So you can see we're obviously in a community. It's not just up to Horseshoe Bay. So as we build our comprehensive plan, we, as the mayor had mentioned, we want to work with the community to understand their comprehensive plans and how we can work collaboratively together. What have we been doing? Mostly educating ourselves, some of which we shared with you in terms of legislation as it relates to the ETJ. We wanted to have an understanding of the current land use. And we spent quite a bit of time doing interviews, and we wanted to understand what that might look like from a number of perspectives. So the most important thing, though, that we want to call out here at the bottom is to ask you to take the survey, and the coming soon starts tomorrow. We've been trying to get the message out. I'm not going to take credit for this last comment here, but I'm assuming you all have been paying attention because you're at the town hall. So thank you all for that, and hope our neighbors, if we can communicate better, all joking aside, please come tell us at our table how we can get the word out to you better, because we really want you to take that survey. So on the left is some areas you probably recognize within our community. To the right are areas not in our community. So again, we're asking you to help us be proactive and to protect and prosper the environment in which we live. Otherwise, we might just be overcome by events. How do you take the survey? We're trying to make everything as accessible and easy as possible. I know you can't see it in the dark, but one of our fantastic handouts actually has a QR code on it and a link to the website for the city, where you can just take a picture with your phone and go directly to the survey. The survey has 12 questions and 1 comment box. Some of those questions, though, are actually prioritizing items you would not want to see and items you would want to see in future land use. But these are all the ways you can get to the survey. Dan was mentioned. Dan's the one that's been producing the QR code for us, as well as a message. The city will send you a text message with the QR code on it. If you don't know how that works, call your kids. They can probably show you how to make that work. Or we'd be glad to show you up here, but we'll talk about it. You didn't know what that was. We're going to meet with the POA presidents on the 26th and ask them to send all of their members the same information so that you can know how you can get access to the survey. As I mentioned, the survey starts tomorrow. It'll run for about 3 weeks. If you have any questions, please feel free to, there's a great monitor of that email. It's not me, but it's somebody in the city that does a fabulous job. If you send us some information, we'll be sure to get back to you. And again, we will post all of those results on the website. If you don't know how to find that, come talk to us. We'll show you how to get to the website as well. So did I mention we need you all to take the survey? That's what we need. Elsie, are you, Jeff? All right. Jeff.
Thank you so much. What a volunteer group. I mean, every committee that we have, they put in loads of time, put a lot of brain power into this, and your community is very good. So I appreciate the applause because they are exceptional in spending time with us. So now we kind of came to this part of the meeting where we talk about the stroll afterwards. Some of y'all came in early, but y'all know we have these booths that are set up around the building here, and we'd like for y'all to kind of stroll around. They have some free giveaways, things to get to them fast, because they go fast. But the other thing is over here in the corner, I think we have it set up to, if you have not signed up for Civic Ready, or you look at something on the website, or still have to get to the website, our Water Smart app. If you need to get on the app, that's a group to talk with over there. The city app, Samantha's sitting there, she's the one, she's our smart person on that. And then anything with technology assistance, if you have a problem, you try to get onto our website or anything like that, but certainly that group's going to help you there. The, again, carry over the corner over there, or the middle of the corner. I've been talking too long. So Carrie can help you with the legislative stuff. She has handouts for that as well. And then the future land use, we're doing right here. Please go by there and talk to them as well. So I'd also like to say the council here, all of your councils here, again, hold your hands up if you're a council. All right. So please visit with them. I'll be over here, see the table over here. And then the legislative, our company, small gestures, our group is reported back here. Human resources, somewhere.
I'm Beth. Nice to meet you. This is our new city. Some information on